when we started thinking about cooking turkeys, what if I did a rotisserie turkey to see if it would turn out as good as like a Sam's Club chicken? I was shocked by how good it was. It actually tastes like the meat had been dripping over coals and it got that flavor in it. And it was a grilled rotisserie flavor.
Welcome to Malcom Reed's How to Barbecue Right, a podcast where we talk about barbecue, share recipes, and discuss all things delicious. And now, here's your host, Malcom and Rochelle Reed.
Hey, welcome back to the How to Barbecue Right podcast. I'm your host, Malcom Reed, and joined by my lovely, talented wife, as always, Miss Southern Shell. We got Jacob sitting in over there on the board today. You know what Tyler's doing. He's had better things to do than talk to us, huh? What's happening today?
Not much. We are looking Thanksgiving right down the barrel.
Man, 1 week.
1 week.
1 week, and it will be Turkey Day.
It's time to
get them birds.
Time
to get them in the refrigerator. Buy them and get them in the fridge.
If you ain't got it in the fridge now, you better get one.
You better go get it. You better go get it and get it in there. Or you're going to be speed thawing. I didn't tell you to do it, but a bathtub will work in a pinch.
We luckily have a big sink in our laundry room.
Yeah, it's thawed many a turkey.
Ribs, butts.
Anytime you're in a hurry.
Briskets,
That's
yeah.
Right. I don't like to admit that I do it, but sometimes you got to.
So this week, you did a rotisserie turkey. This
one was the one that's like, man, I've never done that before, but it was fantastic.
Well, first you were like, I don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to try chicken first.
So when I got the Primo, I guess Mike and a couple of the guys that came down, and we did some filming and stuff at the smokehouse. They brought me that Primo, and he's like, we got all kinds of accessories. What do you think you would need? And so we got a cool rotisserie. And I was like, all right, I'll check it out. Let me see. And so it got me to thinking, when we started thinking about cooking turkeys, what if I did a rotisserie turkey to see if it would turn out as good as like a Sam's Club chicken, because those are, hey, knock them if you want to. Costco and Sam's Club's rotisserie chickens are
fire. Yeah. They're so good.
And they're dirt cheap. So, and it's a great way. It's cheaper. I think it's cheaper to buy one of them than it is a raw chicken.
We were doing some event, and it wasn't like we were charging. It was like free sample type event.
Yeah.
And we were supposed to use smoked chicken for it. And we were like, let's go buy some Sam's Club.
Get a dozen of them.
It's a dozen. We bought a dozen of rotisserie chickens and pulled it. I think we were making tacos.
And then tossed it at Gringo and ran it.
Well, hey.
But they're good.
It was cheaper to buy them already cooked.
And so the whole premise of this video was, will it be as good as those as those birds, like a rotisserie chicken? I know we can smoke one. I know I'm pellet grill one's the king daddy when it comes to making a pretty turkey. But would this rotisserie bird stack up? Is it easy to do? If you have a rotisserie. Now, I wouldn't say, no, I don't know. I was going to say, I wouldn't say run out and buy one if you don't, but it's probably worth it because it was a really good turkey.
Yeah. Would you only use the rotisserie once a year, though?
Man,
I don't know. The chicken was good.
Chicken. So the first time, I was like, okay, I'm going to put 2 chickens on this spit, and if it'll spin 2 chickens, I know it'll do a turkey. Well, I didn't stuff anything in the cavity or anything when I did the chickens. I went and got some chickens, threw them on there, tried to tie them up to where they'd stay and push the spikes in tight, and it didn't want to spin it. So I was a little concerned. I was like, I don't know if it's going to spin this turkey or not. What I ended up doing was taking one of the chickens off and just having one on there, and it did it fine. I was like, well, I know, it's going to spin one. Maybe it's because they're so long with 2 stacked. It just didn't want to turn it. I didn't do something right, but this was just a trial run. I wasn't making a video. I was just throwing something on to see if the thing would work. And that chicken, the single chicken that it cooked was excellent. And the other one, I just threw in a pellet grill, and it was good. But when you put them side by side, there's a noticeably different taste over cooking over live fire, live lump. I had Royal Oak lump charcoal in there, no wood, just charcoal. And the taste difference from there to cooking that chicken on the pellet grill was night and day. It was
noticeable.
It tastes like something you've grilled and cooked over live fire, and the flavor's where you want it. The outside tastes really good. It's not near as pretty.
Well, did the pellet grilled chicken cook slower than the rotisserie chicken?
Yeah.
When you had to separate
them?
It did.
Yeah. It did. A lot slower. The rotisserie cooks higher. I mean, and I didn't put so that got me to think I can do this. I just need to see if I can, do it with a turkey. And so I learned a few things doing that. I learned that once I start my coals out underneath it, since I didn't have the deflector in the grill, that at a certain point when the skin starts, getting a lot of color on it, I'm gonna have to get those coals out from under it. But it comes with a tool. It's like a little rake. And so all you do is rake those out to the sides. And that's what I did. And I don't know what it would have done if I'd have put a deflector in there. It probably would have slowed it down some, wouldn't have been as good a heat, but I think you would have sacrificed some flavor.
And
because
the
skin wouldn't be as good. Now, you do blister the skin and it will start to crack on you and the wings will get a little dry, not dry, but a little dark on you just because they're closer to that fire every time that bird turns.
It's not as pretty as a pellet grill.
Right. It's not going to be.
But it was still pretty.
It would still look good. I mean, you see the video. I mean, it looks fantastic. It just doesn't look as good as one of the pellet grill birds I've done. But the process was pretty easy. I mean, I did a brine on it. I had time, so I just did a water and bird brine, nothing fancy. I think I did it about 12 hours overnight. Threw it in there. It was a 12-pound bird. I didn't do 2 days or nothing crazy. I just let it go overnight, took it out the next morning, dried it off best I could. I didn't do a long sit in the refrigerator to dry the skin like I normally would because this is just kind of experiment. I did put an onion and apple inside the cavity to take up some mass, but my thinking was I didn't do anything in the chickens. It was just a voided space. So that was leaving a gap. If I had something else for that rod to go through that was in that cavity, it would give some extra oomph for helping it turn. And so,
do you think that helped?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because the turkey spun the whole time, and it weighed more than both chickens. Because I think those chickens were just 4.5 pound chickens.
Yeah,
so that was about 9 pounds. Well, this turkey was like 11.75. So it was almost 12-pound bird. And it wasn't that the motor couldn't turn it. It was just that I had lack space. You gotta take that in account when you're spinning something. So what I did, after we took it out of the brine, I dried it off the best I could. I tied it up. I trussed it up, try to tie the wings, tie the legs up after I stuffed the apple.
And that's
and
just so it don't
there.
flop around?
Yeah, it's just so it don't flop around. And I mean, if you don't tie it up, those wings are going to be flailing around the whole time it's spinning. Your legs are going to be hanging out. They're probably going to bust the skin and want to fall off because you're taking this bird to done, And so once I got it tied up tight, it was like a tight package. I ran the spit all the way through it, through the apple, through the onion, out the neck. And then I took the little spikes that are on the end and pushed them in tight and cranked them down to where they would stay put. So it was on the rod. Like it couldn't come off. In fact, I think one of my butcher twines kind of burned a little and it still stayed on. It didn't matter. I'm not the best when it comes to tying something up. I just don't tie a lot of stuff. It's not like I'm a butcher or something, but I did the best I could. And once I got it on, I didn't season the turkey till I got it on the pit. I sprayed it with cooking spray, but a challenge to getting even color on a turkey is that you got to flip that thing around. And the more you flip it, it's knocking the seasoning off. So I was
making
thinking,
it splotchy.
Yeah, making it splotchy. It doesn't look as even. So with it spinning, I could kind of season it. So what I did was I sprayed it, got it on that spit, got it in the motor, turned it on, and I would spray it and let it turn, spray it. So I got a good shellac of the cooking spray on there. And then I used my Bayou Blend, the one that's available at Walmart. It's like a Cajun seasoning. It's really, really good. It was really good on turkey. I didn't know that. First time I ever used it on turkey, but it was excellent, man.
Yeah, I like that Bayou Blend.
Gave it a nice color.
It's got a lot of
not
savory
too.
notes.
It doesn't have any sugar in it, so it's not going to burn. And that's really why I wanted to use it. I didn't want it. I knew the heat was going to be kind of high, and I didn't want the seasoning to burn up. I was trying to keep it, as light as possible, being in that much heat.
Is it a danger to spray cooking spray over a live fire?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It will flame up. So you got to watch it. Don't spray it down in the flames,
You kind of did it at straight across.
And I guess I could have.
Instead of straight down.
If you'd had two people, you could have put the turkey in there, and this probably would have been smarter. Like if I would have put the turkey and the spit on there and not with no coals underneath it, sprayed it, seasoned it, pull it off, and then add my coals, but I heated the grill up first. With just a chimney of royal oak lump. And once I got those in there and spread out, that's when I put the turkey on, sprayed it, seasoned it, and then all you do is close the lid. But I wanted to watch the internal temperature. Thermaworks has this new RFX wireless probe thermometer. And they sent me one. I talked about it on a podcast here a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and you know what? Then they sent us some, because we talked about how good the silicone
spatulas and stuff.
And pot holders were. They sent us some more spatulas and pot holders.
Those are going to.
Thank you, Thermaworks.
Those are going to the fishing lodge. But anyway, I hooked that thing up. It was super easy. I mean, you pair it, like you download the app and then you scan in the device, and then all you do is you pair the little wireless probe to the receiver transmitter, I guess, and it was like foolproof. There's nothing to it. And I was like, well, is this thing really going to work? And I mean, you just set it out at room temp and it starts reading. It charges itself in the little block that the probe goes in, and then the transmitter just has a little battery in it that lasts, I don't know, hundreds of hours. I don't know.
They said it would take
a year.
Said it would last almost a year. But the receiver doesn't give you temps. You have to use the app.
Use the app. Yeah. And so you download the app and it connects to it. And these
Usually
things,
you hate that.
well, it depends. This one worked perfect. Like most of the time it loses, or the ones in the past that I've used, and these weren't Thermaworks, there was different brands that had them. They would just lose connection. I didn't really rely on it. It would work sometimes.
The app kind of sucked.
Yeah, the app was just clunky. Thermaworks was pretty smooth. And they didn't pay me to say this. They just sent me one to try, and this is my honest review of it, how it worked. And I've only used it that one time. But because I've always wanted a wireless probe, and it's because, I have a big rotisserie smoker too. And you can't like stick a wired probe in a butt and let it ride around the rotisserie. Just don't work, or a hog or whatever you got. And so this would work. And I think they do. You can put multiple probes, I think up to 4, but don't quote me because I only have one. I don't have the one that has all the multi-probes. But I think you can buy that one and an add-on probe. So if I wanted to get another one, I could order some more probes. But let me tell you, that thing flat worked. I knew what temperature it was from every half-degree increment all the way through the cook. You're sitting there and just watching it, so you don't have to open the thing. I did occasionally just to kind of see how that turkey was doing.
If you'll notice in the video, there's like something pink tied to the rotisserie. It's because we were worried the rotisserie, we didn't know the turkey was going to keep rotating. Yeah.
I wanted to know. I was like, man, what could I put on the end of this thing to let me know that it's spinning? Because you can't tell unless you physically go over there and kind of look close at it. But you said, well, hold on, I'll come up with something. And would you go out to the garage and found some old flag tape that we had?
Yeah. You were like, I wish I had a flag to put on it so you knew it was spinning.
And so I could just watch that, and I knew it was turning, so we were just kicking back and watching the phone. But it took, man, I'll tell you what surprised me was it only took like an hour and a half for that bird to cook.
Is that the fastest you ever cooked a 12-pound bird?
Yeah. I don't even think I've cooked one an hour and a half spatchcocked. And spatchcock was always thought was the fastest way to cook one, but it still takes like 2 hours to cook a 12-pound bird spatchcock. This did it in an hour and a half. Now, the dial on my Primo said it was around 375 to 400, right in there, the whole cook. So it was pretty hot.
Wow.
But you think about it, when they cook rotisserie chickens, they cook them that hot too. And sometimes I think they cook them at like 450, 475. They're cooking them fast, because, you're trying to get the whole thing cooked, and it works great for a smaller bird. Like, I wouldn't want to cook anything over 12, 13, 14 pounds maybe. But if you get up big, I think the outside's going to get so overcooked before you ever get it cooked down deep inside that it's just not a good choice for a big bird. But for a smaller bird, the rotisserie works great. And let me tell you, the flavor of it, I was shocked by how good it was. It actually tastes like the meat had been dripping over coals, and it got that flavor in it. And it was a grilled rotisserie flavor. The skin was perfect. Now, it wasn't as pretty as a bird that you could babysit on a pellet grill or a smoker, because it does bust in places. But it looks like you go look at those chickens at Costco or Sam's.
Yeah.
They have that look. You can see the seasoning on the outside, but, there's dark spots on them.
It's a little blistered and stuff.
Sometimes where, in the leg, between the legs and the breast, it'll have a crack in the skin, or they might bust on the outside. But if I had to rank the way the turkeys that I cooked for this Thanksgiving video so far, the breast hands down the best.
Yeah, you're hardcore breast man.
The rotisserie next, and then the pellet grill bird. Those are the three I've done. And then the rotisserie chicken, I'll throw that in there, and we didn't do video on it, but it was good. So that's got me to thinking, can I do a rotisserie breast now? Because I think if you get that flavor on one of those big boneless, skinless breasts, it would be fire.
I bet it would take you like 30 minutes to cook it.
But it wouldn't take long. I mean, it would probably an hour, no joke. I bet it would cook in an hour. But it was really good. Then I took it off and just let it rest, and we cut it up and ate that joker. And everybody that tried it thought, I mean, even your mom, like we had some that was left in the refrigerator. She came later that weekend and ate some of it. She was like, man, that was some good turkey.
She said it was delicious.
Best she ever had. And I was like, well, that was the rotisserie one. I mean, the breast is good, but for that rotisserie to have that kind of flavor, I was pleasantly surprised. It will be part of my repertoire doing rotisserie turkey. Especially because at the time, I mean, I love the fact that you can cook it in an hour and a half.
Yeah, yeah.
And you could do any flavor you wanted on it. If you really wanted to do a really good brine or inject it. And
what do you think about, like, because you didn't do this, but could you have, like, basted it with butter as it was cooking?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You could do all that. Just anything it would make it even that much better. But you do need to look at it after about 45 minutes and see what the skin's doing. See when you need to rake those coals back. Because I think that would be, if I would have left all those coals under there the whole time, the outside probably would have got really, really dark.
Do you ever worry that raking your coals during a cook while the meat is on the grill will give it, like, ashiness? You know what I mean? Like,
I had never noticed it. I mean, charcoal does it worse than anything, goes to pieces and makes ash. Lump doesn't ash as bad, flying around and stuff, but briquettes can.
And there was a pretty good space in between the turkey and the...
And it's open, so it's not like it's getting all over. I mean, I guess if you're worried about that, you could have turned the rotisserie off and just put some foil over it or something, but I've never noticed, like, oh, I got ash all over my food.
Yeah. Well, people always ask that question.
Yeah, is ash getting on it, dumping it in or something? I never noticed it.
So what turkey are you cooking next week? Are you doing a couple?
Yeah, and I'm going to be doing it. I'm not going to be at the house doing it, so I'll be somewhere else. So I'm kind of limited on whatever grill they have there. It's actually at my parents'. I think there's a Traeger. So I'll probably be cooking a pellet grill Traeger. And then I know I'm taking a breast.
You mean a pellet grill turkey.
Yeah. I know I'm taking a breast. I know I'll do a ham. And then I may do, depending on if we go to the Egg Bowl or not, I may do a whole turkey for camp that weekend. That way we can have something to eat on while we're hunting and watch football. And probably another ham.
I think you like to cook the hams just because you like all the leftovers.
The hams, yeah, man. Turkey and ham sandwiches, that's the best part after the holiday.
To me, they're not as good on, like, white bread. You got to have the rolls.
Yeah.
You got to use the rolls left over from Thanksgiving.
Which roll? So what's your favorite roll?
I don't know. The fluffy ones that are buttery and...
I like doing, here's...
The one that you rise.
If y'all want to make the best Thanksgiving roll, now this isn't homemade. If you got a homemade yeast roll, that's the best. But my mom she don't do those anymore. But her homemade yeast rolls I'll put them against anybody. They're better than Texas Roadhouse ever thought about being.
Ooh, Texas Roadhouse.
Those are good rolls.
Oh, Charlie's used to have fire rolls.
Charlie's had good rolls.
Are they shut down completely?
I think so.
Yeah.
I know the one in South Haven is. But the best rolls you can do at home, Rhodes is the brand, and you get a muffin tin.
Well, they're frozen. You buy them.
Yeah, they're froze. They're froze little roll balls. And I think they come in like an orange pack or something like that, but it's Rhodes yeast rolls. You take 2 of those little balls, you spray a muffin tin, like a 12 count or whatever count muffin tin you got. You put 2 dough balls in each little muffin. Don't put a cupcake liner or any of that in. What do you call those? Cupcake panties. Don't put those in there. You don't need a liner on them. You put 2 of those. You spray the pan good with cooking spray. Put 2 balls in there in each little cupcake hole, and then you cover it with plastic wrap, and you just let it sit on the counter. It needs to be in a fairly warm spot, not real
too
cold,
warm, not too cold,
not drafty. If you just got a place like that, don't put it in hot heat. They won't rise right. But you got to let them rise, and it takes
a minute. When you do the double, you have to let them rise longer.
4 or 5 hours probably, right?
Yeah, at least.
You don't want them to rise too big because they will blow up. But this is the best rolls. And you take that plastic wrap off, put them in the oven and bake them. And then right at the end, you brush them with melted butter all over the top, stick them back in for a minute. And then when you pull them apart, it's like those Parker House double layer. And it's perfect for putting turkey and ham in. And those are the best rolls. They're better than any other ones.
Yeah, as far as if you're
they're better than Sister Schubert's. They're better than, the little, what's the little segmented ones? Brown and Serves.
I like that. I like all of them, but yeah.
That's what I grew up on the Brown and Serves and homemade yeast rolls.
That was my job when I was a kid, to butter the Brown and Serves.
Really?
And
yeah.
Because you wait till last minute to brown and serve them,
Oh, for your throwback dinner, you got to get some of those.
Okay.
Next week.
Yeah.
That's got to go with it.
So I'm doing a throwback dinner because Michael's never had stovetop stuffing. I don't think he's like the old box side dishes, au gratin potatoes. Of course he's had macaroni and cheese.
Yeah, but stovetop stuffing, and then what are you going to do with it? What's the protein?
Fried pork chops.
Are you gonna
like
do
the little thin fried pork chops.
Are you going to do like canned corn? Have you ever done canned corn where you mix like 1 can of whole kernel, 1 can of
in a skillet with a little butter, salt, pepper?
It's the throwback dinner. Is it all starches? Like you've got pasta, scalloped potatoes, stuffing, rolls, fried chops.
Well, I mean, what other throwback side dishes?
Rice-a-roni? I don't know. That was always
that's
one
a carb though too.
Yeah. Vegetable out of a can, starch in a box.
I could do canned green beans.
Yeah,
That's like throwback. Anyway.
But yeah, that was the turkey recipe. I mean, it was the rotisserie turkey. Pleasantly surprised me. I'm a fan of it, a big fan.
It turned out better than I was kind of.
And I never really seen that many recipes of people do it. I don't know why. Probably. I guess a lot of people don't have rotisseries.
Yeah,
but
that's a specialized kind of equipment. But speaking of sides, you also did some classic recipes with your take on it.
Man, that green bean casserole was no joke. And green bean casserole is not one of the best Thanksgiving sides.
It's not my favorite.
It was always the phone it in one that people would just
bland.
Yeah, no flavor. Just they would take can of green beans, cream mushroom soup, onions, no seasoning, throw it in the thing, cook it, and bring it, and it's like never got ate. Nobody ate it. This one, I bet it goes first.
It was so good.
Yeah, I sauteed onions. Well, first
you did
bacon. Cook some bacon, like some lardons of bacon. Just take bacon and chop it in about, I don't know, inch and a half pieces.
Yeah, little pieces.
Brown that up really good. Save your bacon fat. Throw a little bacon fat in the skillet. Onions, mushrooms. And I think they were just sliced button mushrooms. It wasn't anything fancy. And then I sauteed those right at the end, threw the green beans in, drained, 2 cans. Warm that up, sauteed those a little bit just to get some flavor going. And the green beans probably weren't in the saute pan, minute and a half. Not long. You're not trying to stir them and break them all up. I just wanted to incorporate them a little bit with the mushrooms.
Toss them in that good bacon fat.
Yeah. Get that seasoning going. Then you pull it off the heat and you add a can of cream of mushroom soup and about 3/4 of a cup of shredded cheddar. I use the white cheddar. Well, I used inside, I used about 3/4. And then on top, I put the rest. So it was about 8 ounces worth of shredded cheese for the whole dish. And yeah, I said a cup, but I just eyeballed it, Shell. And then I saved some. You didn't notice that I didn't use it all because I wanted to put some on top. So what I did after I put, just say, okay, I put a cup.
You said a cup in the.
Did I measure it? No. You saw what I did. I grabbed it with my hand and put it off in there. Yeah, about a cup. It's probably about 3/4 of a cup inside the dish because I wanted it to give it a little bit more creamy richness. And that's what that dish misses, and I think adding the mushrooms, adding the cheese made a big difference. And
adding the onions. A lot of people don't saute onions. Yeah.
They just use the crispy onions. And a lot of the recipes you see for this dish says put the crispy onions on the inside. I'd rather have them on the top as a crunchy topping and get real onion flavor on the inside with the onions.
Well, I think if you put them in there and then bake it, they lose the crunch.
Yeah, so it's just a soggy kind of weird bite.
Yeah. And they do have good flavor, but the texture isn't good.
But once you get that put together at this point, you could refrigerate it and cook it the next day, whatever. But I stuck it in a pellet grill, 350, because I had a little bit of the extra cheese on top. And once it was hot and bubbly, cheese was melted. It was probably about 25, 30 minutes into it.
Yeah.
Pulled it out, and I took the crispy onions, the ones that's like French's crispy onions. They got them everywhere. So you go in Walmart, they're right at the door right now. All this good stuff is. But you take those and you go around the edge, you kind of make a border with those and leave a little bit of room in the middle. That goes back on the pit once you put the border of the crispy onions. And in about 10 minutes, they'll brown up, still hot and bubbly. That's all the cooking it needs. So the total cook time is about 40 minutes at 350. Take it off, put all that bacon in that middle part that we left empty. So when you get a scoop of it. It was a lot of
bacon.
So you get a scoop of it. If you got people that don't like bacon, they can just get the crispy onion. But if you're like me, you go for the middle where it's got bacon and onion. Just get you a big scoop of that. And I want you to know, I don't know if y'all noticed in that video, it was a TikTok, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it's going on all platforms. Yeah.
You'll see it. That usually when I'm trying this stuff or cooking, I just take a bite, and set it to the side. I ate that whole serving of the green bean.
And it was a big old serving.
It was a big serving. It was good. It was really good.
The bacon worked so well in that dish.
Yeah.
And I've never really seen a lot of people use bacon in that dish.
In it, yeah. But that's a different take on, or it's my take on green bean casserole. I recommend y'all try that.
I take that back. I showed you a TikTok the other day of a woman cooking her Thanksgiving dinner. Do you remember? She did use bacon bits on top of her green beans.
Bacos.
Bacos, yeah.
Bacos.
She used canned mac and cheese.
I wish we could share that because I've never seen anybody use canned mac and cheese for anything. I didn't even know it was a thing. Did y'all?
It's like,
have you ever seen
Chef Boyardee? It was Chef Boyardee.
It looked like it.
Canned mac
I didn't know that was a thing. Do they sell that in our Kroger or Walmart? I'm looking for it. I'm going to look for canned mac and cheese.
But she poured a couple cans in a dish and then topped it with American cheese slices. Like you put on a bologna, Kraft singles, like you put on and it was done. Ta-da.
The turkey she had going in a countertop turkey roaster or some kind of roaster. And it was white as this paper. This is looking good. I was like, really?
I forgot the other stuff she did, but
is that a joke?
They're too serious. Like I believe
she's serious, but is the kid the one that's posting it?
Yeah.
He's in on it with her, but he's the only one that him and us are in on the joke.
Yeah,
she's not.
He's done a bunch.
She gives him hell. Like he don't know. Like this is how you really supposed to be cooking. It's like, man.
It was pretty disgusting.
What else did she have?
Canned yams and then
with a whole bag of the big marshmallows. She said, "Can't put enough marshmallows on it." I'm out.
It was just canned yams and marshmallows, no seasoning, no nothing.
I'm trying to think of what other stuff she had. I can't remember.
But you did a sweet potato casserole.
And if she wasn't going to cook that, why did she have the turkey going? So this is the whole premise of that video. Explain this to me. She's prepping this stuff to cook the next day, right? But she's got this turkey going in this roast. Is it fixing to cook for?
It might take it
all night because it was a big turkey. I bet you I didn't think about that.
We have that exact roaster, but we use
we use
it
it
for
like catering to keep stuff warm. I've never tried to cook a whole turkey in it. But the kicker of all this stuff, what disgusted me was the canned ham.
Oh,
she took
about that.
Those gelatinous, nasty looking canned hams,
which is just potted meat, isn't it?
It looks like, have you ever had chopped ham, like a chopped ham sandwich?
Yeah.
The deli, that's like the cheap deli meat.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. And they slucked it out of that thing, it slapped it on the thing.
But they did a bunch of them.
It was like six canned hams and just cut it in the aluminum pan. Yep, that's ready. I'll just cook it.
No, then she topped it with just a can of pineapple ring.
That was it. And they said that's the best part. Poured all the juice in there out of the pineapple rings. I bet you that video's got 6 million views. I've got to find it again now. And we got to figure out a way to share it. And then to put those pineapple rings on that canned ham. Maybe that's when I need to recreate smoke version of that video. Just make it just like that.
I want you to try to take a canned ham and make it like
Make it edible? I mean, I could do it.
On the smoker. You could glaze it.
You could glaze it. Yeah, you could do all kinds of stuff. Cut a little design in it.
I mean, you like Vienna sausages. Why wouldn't you like?
That's pretty much what that is. It's like they must have some kind of like press where they press the Vienna sausages out of it. That's what I imagine it tastes like. I've never ate canned ham. Have y'all? I mean, if the apocalypse comes, it's probably good to have a few of them, but I don't know, man.
All right.
Canned ham.
Sweet potato casserole. Your version.
My version.
Which is kind of my version.
It really is your version. Do you think I cook that regularly? No. That's a shell dish. You can tell. It's got like 3 cups of sugar.
It didn't have any mayonnaise.
So all you do, you get you 3 or 4 sweet potatoes, depending on what size sweet potatoes, how many you'll need. I would say, what do you think it is? 4 cups of cooked sweet potato, probably?
Ish, yeah.
3 or 4 cups of cooked sweet potato. But the way I cook them, throw them in the oven. Just put the oven on 400, stick those sweet potatoes right on the rack. Don't do what I did. Put something under them to catch it, because they do cook out liquid and it'll get all over your oven. Because I forgot that, and I just stuck them in there, and now I got to clean the oven.
And then it's smoky and yeah.
So, but I just oven cooked them, oven roasted sweet potatoes. I think it took about an hour, maybe. 202. When you stick a probe in it and it says 202, those sweet potatoes are done. Now they're going to be screaming hot, really hot. So you can take them out, but it's easier to get them out of the skin when they're hot. And all you do is like slice them in half and then squeeze, and it'll just squirt it right out. And you don't have to peel them. You don't have to do anything.
But wear gloves.
Wear some gloves if you don't let them cool. I think they do better when they're hot like that to come out. I don't know if when they were cold if they come out as good.
Well, I like to get them out of there hot because I'm adding butter and
letting it go ahead and incorporate in the cream, in the heavy cream. So then that's what they get. I let them sit on the counter for a little while, but they get, you put butter in it.
It melts that butter as soon as you put it in there.
Sugar in it. Brown or white. I think I used brown that day. I don't even think I used white sugar in the whole recipe. And then it got some heavy cream, and then you need to stir that up. But it's like making mashed potatoes. You just stir it up in a bowl.
Kind of.
And then at the end, you put your egg in. You need 2 eggs in this dish. That's what kind of makes it turn to a casserole, helps the texture. But if that potato mixture is not cool enough, and you put those eggs in there, it's going to start cooking those eggs. They'll curdle on you. So you want to make sure
you'll have little pieces of scrambled egg.
Yeah, in your you don't want that. So you got to make sure it's cool enough. And so I whisk the eggs up a little bit, beat them, and then slowly put them in. And I'm slowly, whipping it, and it's cooled down, and they do fine. Season it a little bit, cayenne pepper. You could add a little cinnamon if you wanted to. I didn't do a whole lot to these. I just did a pinch of cayenne and a little pinch of salt.
A little salt, a little pepper.
Yep. I didn't put any.
Oh, you didn't
black
do pepper?
Just regular cayenne, a little dash of cayenne pepper. Then that goes in a greased casserole dish. Now, what makes this really good is a praline topping. Skip the marshmallows. You can do something else with that. Make a Jell-O mold or whatever with the marshmallows.
Save those for hot cocoa.
There you go. Use this praline topping. It's chopped up pecans, brown sugar, butter, and flour. That's all it is. Mix all that up, and it's kind of like this crumbly, sticky topping, and then you just use your hands and kind of spread that all over the top of that casserole till it's covered. And then you pop it in the oven or on the pit, 350 for probably about 45 minutes.
Yeah, it takes a
little bit longer.
A little bit longer than your typical.
But you want that topping good and cooked. It makes like this candy praline crust on top. Sweet potatoes are hot and delicious on the inside. And it's one of those, is this a dessert or is this a side dish? Because it's more like dessert.
I mean, it has savory elements to it.
Yeah.
You got a little salt, you got a little cayenne,
But it's riding
that line.
It's more of a dessert than a side dish, but I eat it as a side dish.
I serve it. Every time I've ever taken that sweet potato casserole or something, very close to it, because I always do the pecan topping. Everybody goes crazy over it.
And don't even touch the marshmallow one.
Yeah. But they do say, ooh, that's dessert.
Yeah. It's because of the brown sugar in it, isn't it?
But that's how it's good.
But it has like, was it 3/4 of a cup on the inside and then a cup on the topping?
Mm-hmm.
So it really is a lot of brown sugar. But we don't count. You don't count calories. You don't count carbs on Thanksgiving. All that's out the window. Don't worry about it. Just enjoy yourself for one day.
For one day.
And then go walk it off on Black Friday, doing all this shopping.
What's your favorite side dish?
Man. Do you count dressing as a side dish?
Yeah,
or is it,
definitely.
Because it's really turkey and dressing. That's one dish.
That's almost like the star.
Yeah.
That's a main.
That's a main. So my favorite side dish.
Completely away with dressing and stuffing.
We're going to exclude those. It's between the mac and cheese and the hash brown casserole. That's the two. That's my favorite.
And it kind of
it's not Thanksgiving if you don't have those.
It kind of depends on who cooks them too.
It does. Like a bad mac and cheese.
When it's all dry, they added way more noodles and had too much.
That's noodle bake.
Yeah.
That ain't even mac and cheese. You just did mac and mac. I know you've seen it like that, where when you cut it, it's a perfect square and it's just all noodles. You know what the problem is when somebody does that?
Too many noodles.
Too many noodles. Like you need to have 4 times as much cheesy sauce as you do noodles in it. Because I think what most people do, you buy 16 ounces of dried elbow macaroni, you boil the whole thing. But really, you only need a third of that. You don't need that whole pack. And I noticed, and I learned that from you, because I used to, when I would make it, I'd dump the whole thing in, just add stuff and go with it, and it'd always be dry. Well, when you started doing it, you would do your noodles first. There'd be half a strainer or more of noodles left, and you'd make a pasta salad with it or something like that, not just waste them.
Well, I added to it. So I have my cheese sauce ready to go, and then I add my noodles and stir and look. Because the thing about macaroni and cheese casserole that's different than like stovetop macaroni is that as it bakes, it's going to soak it up.
Yeah, absorb. It
almost
so
like absorbs it. So you need it a lot more. Yeah, you need a lot more swimmy going in the oven than you would think. Yeah,
and even if it is a little runny when it comes out, it's good because that salt. I guarantee it won't stay runny. Once it gets to room temp, it's locking up.
Mm-hmm. That's another thing; it locks up.
But you can put too much cheese in it. You've done it.
I've done it.
You've made cheese and cheese casserole instead of mac and cheese.
I did some chicken spaghetti. I made chicken spaghetti one time that was.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Just all cheese.
It was Velveeta.
It just looked like Velveeta with some noodles and chicken in it sticking out. I wish I'd have got a picture of that.
You know what? You're not batting 400 either.
I'm not. On turkeys, I am.
I like butter beans.
Is that your favorite?
It's in the top 3.
Mm-hmm. The little baby ones or the big ones?
I prefer the baby ones,
That's
but
the
it's
best.
usually
what do they call baby llamas or baby butter beans?
So I Googled, is there a difference between butter beans and llama beans? And they're not. It's just different areas call them different. So butter beans and llama beans, same thing.
Same thing.
I'm also
they're butter beans in the South.
I mean, to me, rolls and butters going up there.
That's not a side dish. That's just an extra.
What about deviled eggs? Is that a side dish
or
is that an extra?
Unexpected extra.
What else is out there?
Cranberry sauce. That's not a side dish. That's an expected extra.
That's an extra that goes with the main.
Yeah.
Because it's got to be turkey dressing and cranberry sauce.
Do you eat the cranberry sauce?
I don't.
That's the one thing if we don't have, I'm not,
okay
it's
with
not going to bother me. But I got to have gravy though.
I like the one that is made from cranberries. I don't like the Jell-O.
Yeah.
Like out of the can cranberry.
Like the Ocean Spray cranberry loaf. That wasn't your job as a kid to slice that up?
Yep.
That was what we always got to do.
Butter the roll,
You'd have to break out this little glass square tray.
Yes.
You'd break that out and you'd slide that cranberry sauce on it and you'd get a butter knife and you'd cut it and you'd set it, put plastic wrap over and put it back in the refrigerator and get it cold. Is that what y'all would do?
Yeah.
That's the status quo.
Butter the rolls, cut the cranberry sauce and fill the ice
in the cup. Yeah.
So do you do apps for Thanksgiving?
No.
We never do.
Mm-mm. There's so much going on. There's no
point. Yeah.
We don't even eat breakfast. You just get breakfast that day.
But we do lunch. We do Thanksgiving lunch.
Yeah, it's not a dinner. It's like a lunch.
I think a lot of people do Thanksgiving dinner.
Really?
I prefer the lunch.
Yeah.
Get up early. Skip breakfast.
Turn the parade on. Everybody's, cooking something. You watch the parade. Football game comes on. You eat around noon. Go stretch out. Watch the football game in the afternoon. If you want dinner, it's going to be leftovers. Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
Heck yeah. There's got to be a nap worked in there somewhere, though. The tryptophan nap.
So what's our eating plan for football weekend? Because you got Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And then it's like all the rivalry games are that weekend.
So I don't have one because it's deer season. And so there's going to be a lot of getting up early, going hunting, come back watching football, going back hunting, come back watching football. That's my plan for the next, I don't know, foreseeable future.
I like doing sliders. Little football, small foods. Because you've eaten this big meal, you've gotten all your important stuff in, and then the weekend after when you watch football.
It's usually like party food. You don't need anything else, like home cooking, and you're tired of that.
And you got plenty of turkey and ham in the fridge.
Leftover. Yeah. Well, that's what I like to do. Like, let's make a turkey gumbo. Let's make a turkey pot pie. Let's, do stuff like that. That's what I like to do.
You promised me you're going to make a gumbo.
Chicken and dumplings. There's fixing to be a pot of chicken and dumplings somewhere. That may happen like this Sunday.
Yeah, I was going to do that.
If the weather's right.
Okay, so.
It's got to be pretty chilly for me to like chicken and dumplings. Is that weird? It's kind of like eating chili. I don't want to eat it when it's hot outside.
Yeah.
So when the weather starts turning cool, you start thinking about those big pot dishes.
Yeah, I want pasta salad and chicken salad in the summer and something a little more hearty in the winter. Your chilies.
Hopefully we'll be cooking some deer meat. Instead of pork chops, we could do deer meat with your little thing.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see.
That would work. Okay, so Nathan on the community, he heard us talking about the Michelin stars and how we were complaining that there's no Michelin stars close to us. He said the company only gives stars by location, and they don't have a team in New Orleans or any of these other cities yet.
It's like a branch or an office.
I guess, yeah.
Why wouldn't they have one in New Orleans, as culinary driven as that town is?
To be known as like one of the better food towns in the world.
In the world, yeah. I don't know.
Real quick, let's pay some bills.
All right. The How to Barbecue Right podcast is brought to you by our friends at Primo Grills. Shell, did you know that Primo is the only ceramic grill made right here in the good old USA?
What? Are you telling me that Primo grills are proudly crafted here in the USA, ensuring top-notch quality and support for local craftsmanship?
I sure am. Plus, Primo Grill not only delivers mouth-watering flavor, but because of their innovative oval design and superior ceramic construction, Primo Grills also gives you a ton of cooking versatility.
Whether you're smoking low and slow or searing a steak to perfection, Primo Grills gives you the consistent heat distribution for mouth-watering results every time.
What she said, y'all. Y'all visit PrimoGrill.com and check them out. So where's our closest region where there's Michelin?
Chicago.
Does Atlanta?
Texas, and I think Atlanta.
Yeah. Do you think Atlanta is more of a food town than New Orleans? No way.
No way.
You think Chicago is? New Orleans?
I would.
Chicago's pretty good.
Chicago's pretty good.
Yeah. That's a toss-up. Yeah.
I'm
just thinking of where, like Chicago, all the different cuisines that yeah, Chicago's pretty good. And then if I had to pick, I would pick New Orleans over because you have that Gulf seafood element. Like, I'm not going to go to Chicago and eat oysters.
And you like,
even if they got them, I don't think I would eat if they have oysters or mussels in the Great Lake, I probably would not eat them.
You like New Orleans too. So.
Yeah, it's a different vibe. I like Chicago. Chicago's a cool town.
That's one of my favorite big cities.
Yeah.
Like big cities is Chicago. Okay. Got a couple questions for you from the community.
Heck yeah.
Most of them are about Thanksgiving.
I figured that. They ought to be. Oh, you know what? First off, before we get into that, we want to appreciate everybody for tuning into that live turkey talk and for the folks that ordered the hats that helped us out. How much did we raise? It was like $4,000.
We're not quite there, but we're going to go ahead and donate the $4,000
to make it to our local food bank.
Yeah.
So we appreciate y'all helping that out. And there are still some of those hats available on the website if anybody wanted one. It's like we assigned some personal autographed How to Barbecue Right hats, and that money, the proceeds of those, we're donating to our food bank for Thanksgiving.
So we raised $4,000. Mm-hmm. We're not quite there on our actual raising, but
we're just going to go ahead and give them the check.
Yeah.
Because they need to get that out this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. So, but which is great.
It's awesome.
For our community, I hope that they can do a lot with that.
But we answered a lot of questions, but we still got more.
But first, before we get into turkey, Ron said that he's heard you talking about your college adventures. What's your degree in?
Man, what's it? Hard Knocks.
I thought you were going to say, what's it not?
What's it not in? Yeah. Got a couple associates and a bunch of others. And
never quite graduated.
You like to pull that up there, don't you? That's all right. I'm doing quite well for myself. Maybe one day I'll go back. I'm leaving the door open. I'm waiting. So here's the deal. I'm waiting on Michael to graduate high school, and then me and him are going to do like a Rodney Dangerfield back to school type situation.
God.
We're going to it's going to be part Rodney Dangerfield, part Animal House, basic but general college studies. Like we're not going to major in anything. I don't care what he majors in. He can do whatever he wants.
All right.
You think Lane Kiffin will still be there in 3 years?
It's a possibility. So Derek, I had an outdoor fryer that I'm eager to use. However, I'm in need of a container large enough to store at least 5 gallons of oil in my garage. Any suggestions?
Bucket?
Yeah, a bucket.
But, I mean, so.
Food safe bucket.
Is it full of oil now? Or is he talking about once he puts oil in it, he's got to have something to store the oil in?
I guess.
Because what I do is I save those, because I buy the big jugs at either Sam's or Costco. It's like a 5-gallon jug. And by the time you throw it, you pour that in there, don't throw that jug away. And when you can buy this little filter. I think I got it at Academy. It's like a grease filter. It looks like, a big oil funnel, but it's got a little filter thing in the bottom of it. And you can put that underneath your drain, run your grease back through that on top of the jug. And because it's never going to, you're going to lose some. The food's, some splashing out, the food's absorbing some. So it's not going to fill that jug back up. And that's a great way to store that oil. So usually it comes in like a cardboard box. And if you're careful and don't spill oil, the box won't get greasy and it just gives it a little structure.
The box is going to get a little greasy.
But it doesn't matter. It's staying in the garage. But that's what I would use. But I mean, a 5-gallon bucket would work too. It's just a little trickier to pour it back out of that, once you put it over in it because there's no spout. But
the container it comes in is your
perfect,
best use.
Perfect for it.
So David, he's got a silverback and he's got 2 rubber bullets, 22 and 14.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be cooking a regular, like, frozen bird, and then he's going to cook one of Kevin's turkey breasts. So which cooker for which meat? What would you do? I
definitely do the pellet grill for the whole bird. And then if you could still cook the breast on the silverback beside it, it would be fine. I'd cook them at 350 or 335, something like that, and let them roll.
I bet it'd be pretty good on that Weber bullet.
But that's what I was thinking. The breast would be pretty good on that bullet too.
Because you don't need that moving air for that,
you're not,
look.
Yeah, that's right.
And you're probably going to get a
little bit better grilled flavor on that bullet. So you're good. And you probably won't even need the little one. You could fire that up for a side or something.
And then could one of those Kevin turkey breasts, those giant turkey breasts, fit on the top shelf of a silverback? If you got both the shelves units in there? You're
not going to be able to do a whole bird and use that shelf. But I don't know. It might be touching.
I'd be worried it'd be touching. Then your airflow is not going to be the same.
I wouldn't try that. I don't think there's enough space in the top of it to do. One of the smaller ones, maybe, because it works for ribs and pieces of chicken. But anything that's got like extra height, it's not doesn't really have enough airspace.
So Tim, he's looking for an easy side for Thanksgiving. He's traveling on Wednesday, so he wants to put it together, the night before, which I do all my cooking the night before. I assemble all my casseroles. But he wants something different. He doesn't want the green bean casserole, mashed potatoes, or dressing.
No sweet potatoes? Those are awful good. Man, have you ever done corn casserole?
Ooh, corn casserole is good.
And it'll travel well, too. What else would be good?
I'm drawing a blank.
I mean, that pretty much covers what I like. Hash brown casserole.
Yeah.
I don't want that one. I mean, like we don't do mashed potatoes. We're going to have some kind of cheesy, either like the hash brown potato casserole or scallop potatoes or something like that. But the hash brown casserole is super easy.
I saw one on TikTok the other day. They did an artichoke casserole. And it was like artichokes and breadcrumbs and cheese.
Squash casserole is good too.
It looked delicious. Yeah.
I'm a casserole man when it comes to the holidays.
I do something for our Thanksgiving. It's broccoli salad.
Broccoli salad's a good one.
It's the fresh, when everybody's got these heavy casseroles, it's kind of a fresh little.
It's the alternative for the people that don't really want to, for the non-fat people is what you're saying.
Well, I do put a pretty good amount of Blue Plate and bacon in it.
It's got Blue Plate mayonnaise. It's got sugar, don't it?
Yeah.
It has sugar in it.
And bacon.
And bacon and raisins. So is it healthy? Nah. Healthier, maybe.
Yeah, but everybody's like, this is the best salad I've ever tried.
A cup of sugar. What's that? You know how bad that cup of sugar is for you? God, it's horrible. But don't skimp on it because that broccoli salad sucks without it.
Speaking of which, if you're choosing mayonnaise this weekend, if you're choosing mayonnaise for your Thanksgiving, make sure to choose Blue Plate.
Do you know how big of a holiday Thanksgiving is for Blue Plate? Probably. Think of all the deviled eggs and all the casseroles and all the salads and everything getting made with mayonnaise.
And cheese. I bet they're selling a crap load of cheese.
And sour creams.
I know at Christmas time, it's hard to find. It's hard. You'll go in there and cream cheese, it's like wiped out.
Yep.
I'm just looking at some ideas.
I'm trying to think of what I saw one the other day. It was like
something you could assemble the night before.
Yeah, that's why like the hash brown casserole, the macaroni and cheese, anything that does good in a refrigerator, you can take somewhere and you're going to need some oven time. And most of the time it's, 30 to 45 minutes tops. It's not like you're baking something for hours. These are really, really quick. You're just basically warming it up and melting whatever cheese you have in there and getting it hot and bubbly.
I will say, if you pull a casserole out of the fridge and put it straight into the oven, it's going to take like an hour and a half. A
lot of times you got to watch those containers too, because if you've got certain glass containers, I've seen them bust going from cold to hot too fast. Mm-hmm. So keep that in mind. But if you're traveling with it, it's going to get closer to room temp. Unless you just keep it ice cold, which I'd probably it's already cold coming out of that fridge, let it start coming up to where you're going.
But all the other side dishes I was thinking about, like your Brussels sprouts or something like that, they're hard to assemble the night before. The cheesy corn casseroles.
Really good one, yeah.
That's or a good one. Deviled eggs, do the cranberry, well. Yeah, or do the cranberry sauce.
Cranberry sauce, do the rolls.
All right. Lee. He's got a 23-pound ham for Thanksgiving.
Man, that's a big ham. That's all. It's got to be a whole.
It's got to be. It
can't be butt portion. Yeah.
Any way to spruce it up instead of just having plain old ham?
Yeah. Score the outside. Make you a really good glaze. If I'm doing a whole ham like that, I think I did a recipe on it. Mm-hmm. It's the classic one where you pin the pineapple rings to the outside and put the cherries in it, and you glaze it. That's a pretty ham. It's huge. I mean, it's big,
That was.
But it's really, really pretty, and it looks jazzed up. Like, first off, what you do is you take you can use any kind of knife, but what I found is like a box cutter, because you can adjust the depth of that blade, and you score it on an angle and skip over every, inch or so. So you're creating like these parallel lines, and then come back and go the opposite direction. And as it cooks, they open up and make these diamond patterns. And you can go a step further by putting the pineapples and stuff on it at the end too, and letting those cook and glaze on.
Well, you can
do it at the beginning. Put the pineapples and cherries on it, let them cook the whole time. So.
Well, you put like a glaze on it and let the glaze get tacky, and then came in, I think, and put the pineapples and cherries, and you kept them on with toothpicks.
Yeah, and then you
kind of let it glaze and set, and then you could pull the toothpicks
out, and they're glued on. Yeah, and it's really pretty. It's really good too.
It's like an old 70s.
Mm-hmm. That's classic.
Vintage ham.
Vintage. Yeah, that's the vintage ham.
Doing a bone-in prime rib for a large family get-together. I need to hold it for 3 hours at a safe temp.
It's going to hold. Yeah. You take that dude up to, I'd pull it off about 120.
Internal.
And I would, put it in a pan, put some foil over it, stick it in the cooler, dry cooler, and let it hang out. It's going to be perfect. I mean, it's going to be really good. Exactly how I would do it. I would probably, depending on how your bones are cut, I like to take mine off, like cut the ribs off.
Do you do that before you cook it, though?
Yeah, I like to do it that way. Season everything and then put it back together and tie it up. That way, when you get ready to cut it, you can cut those strings loose, take the and you got bones that you can cut. The bones are going to give it flavor. It's going to give it mass. It's going to help it cook good. But oftentimes it's hard, unless that chine bone's been cut just right, to slice that prime rib once it gets done. To get all the way through that bone's tough. And most of the time you don't want to serve your guest a big, piece of meat with the bone in it. So if you have it separated, put it back together, you're still taking advantage of cooking that meat close to the bone. But when you get ready to serve it, those bones are good eating now. That's usually off to the side for the people in the back to eat. But you can cut them up, and it looks like you've got a piece of like rib bone, like beef ribs. Now, how if you slice them good, they're gonna it's one of those things where take your time. Don't leave. You want to get as much meat off the bone as you can, but leave some in between it. So that's what you're going to gnaw on and give it some flavor. That's how I would do it.
So go ahead and remove the bones away from the loin.
Yeah, trim the loin off the ribs all the way down. Then you're going to have the big loin, which is the big prime rib, and then you're going to have a rack of ribs. Season both of them the same. Put them back together and use butcher twine to tie it and hold them in shape. Cook them.
So it looks like it did originally.
Yeah, it looks like it originally did, just seasoned all the way around. And then you put it on there and cook it. And it works perfect. It was really good.
And most of the time when you do stuff like that, you let it rest in a dry cooler for 3 or 4 hours
at least
anyway.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the rest. I think it makes it better. It really does.
I think it gives you more even cook from side to side.
Tip to tip. It's going to even out.
Speaking of which.
Just don't overcook it. Don't take it up to like 130. Because by the time you do that, you let it rest in that cooler, it's going to be medium well all the way across.
Unless you want it that way.
I started using 2 probes, like center and end probe. That way I could watch them and kind of gauge, because I don't like my ends to get overcooked. I want to try to hit it to where it's even all the way across.
Do you think once you let it rest in that dry cooler that the doneness kind of evens out from end to end?
I think it does. The rest helps it even out too. Now, there's nothing you can do on some of the real thin ends or whatever. It's going to cook depending on where your heat's coming from and that cooker and everything.
Speaking of beef ribs, did you see those beef rib corn dogs somebody posted in the community?
They dipped them and fried them. How do you think that is?
I mean, I try it.
I mean, I'll try it.
I feel like you're messing up 2 good things, though.
Yeah. That's what I think.
Like, it looks cool, and I try it, but
I don't want my beef rib coated in a cornbread mixture.
And then fried. It's probably going to be a little...
it's going to be a little tough, chewy, imagine. Because when beef ribs are right and they're cooked where they're jiggly on the bone, it don't get no better.
And then TW, he posted a picture where he did some smoked red wine braised short ribs, and he served them over cheesy grits. But I was thinking that would be a good holiday recipe.
It is. That's great for like Christmas.
Yeah. Braised short ribs, if you're looking for something different.
Well, I've got a recipe on those.
Mm-hmm.
I like to do them over mashed potatoes, though. But grits would work.
You could do it over anything. But Malcolm, that's really all I have for you today.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
No.
We're going to be off the next 2 weeks. Thanksgiving, and then Malcolm will be traveling. Where are you going?
Going to the great state of Texas.
And then?
I'm going up to the frozen North Dakota, to hopefully bring back some bison. If I shoot one of those, it's going to be awesome.
How much meat are you going to have if you have a kill of bison?
It should weigh about 1,200 pounds.
Dressed?
Probably, no, dressed, maybe about 750.
Oh, my God.
It's a lot. If I tell you, go buy a freezer, I'm coming home, baby, buy a freezer. That means I got me one. But yeah, no.
We'll be out. We'll be out. We'll be back in 2 weeks.
This is the time. Y'all want to keep up with some of my hunting adventures. Y'all go check out Buck Junkies, because we're going to be talking about all this stuff over there too. When we're not barbecuing, I'm going to be hunting. And
we have a new contest coming up in the community. I don't know if Tyler's posted it.
Oh, is it?
Yet,
what is it?
I think we're giving away some of those.
Oh, the RFXs? Heck yeah.
RFXs. So I think we're giving away 3.
That's going to make some awesome Christmas presents. I don't know. What do they cost? About $150?
I think they're a little more than that.
Are they? I don't know. They're not.
Tell me, what is that name again? I get my
RFX. I think it's what it's called. I jotted it down. Thermaworks RFX. The single probe one's more than $150. I don't know. Whatever it is, I mean, they're flat worth it.
If you're into that kind of thing.
If you're into wireless probe thermometers. Who wouldn't be?
Don't buy your wife one.
You don't think she'd like that?
I'd be so pissed.
Man, if you're like meal prepping, if you're meal prepping all the chicken for the week, the bland chicken with no seasoning on it, cook it in the oven, you stick that in there.
$239 is the starter kit.
Oh, that's a little more expensive than I thought.
So we're going to be.
That's a good little giveaway then.
I think we're giving away 3.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure we're giving away 3. So go to the community. Figure out how you can.
Tyler will post it up. He'll have that going. I don't know if it's running yet, but he'll get it posted. We're going to try to make that happen so you get it before Christmas. So.
Yeah. It's go to Facebook.
Hopefully he'll be back next time. I don't know.
It's Facebook. Go to Facebook and type in Let's Get to Cooking Community, and you can find it if you're not already a member. If you'd like to connect, well, you got anything else you want to say?
No, I'm good. It up. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. If you'd like to connect with me, it's Miss Southern Shell on, where am I?
Instagram, Twitter. Not Twitter.
If you'd like to connect with Malcolm, it's HowToBBQRight on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and of course, YouTube.
We gone. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all.
It's time for a break.
It's time for a break.